when our backs are against the wall, that's when we figure out what we're really made of.
Welcome to the Mom Entrepreneur Success Podcast with Mariana C. Ruiz, the podcast for the go-getter mom entrepreneur who refuses to let motherhood slow her down from achieving success and making an impact. Tune in Mondays to learn the success secrets of top influencers who also happen to be moms so that you can reach the success, freedom, and impact you desire.
This episode of the Mom Entrepreneur Success Podcast is brought to you by my Freedom Coaching Program. Are you serious about making a full-time living with your business? Then get ready to implement the strategies that get you real results in less time. I will support you 110% for 6 months to create a business that has real results and real profits. In just 6 months, you'll have a business that's consistently generating leads, making an impact online, and bringing in cash to not only support the business itself, but also to support your family, all from the comfort of your own home, so that you have the freedom to spend as much or as little time with your children as you want to. And not just that, I have had clients who have gone from a brand new business idea to paying clients in just 3 weeks, as well as clients who have had their first 5K month within the first month of working together. So if this sounds like something that would benefit you, head on over to marianacruiz.com and click on the Work With Me tab. There you'll find all of the information about the program, as well as a link to my scheduling app so that you can go ahead and schedule a time to see if working together would be a good fit for both of us. So head on over to marianacruiz.com and click on the Work With Me tab. Okay, now back to the show. Welcome to the Mom Entrepreneur Success Podcast. Today I have my friend Jessica Eley here, and we're going to be having a conversation about mindset, a little bit about her story and how she juggles everything with 3 kids. But I think it's really important to have an open conversation about what mindset means in our business and how it affects us, because it really does. So Jessica is a personal development coach who helps moms to deal with the personal side of life so that it doesn't interfere with business. And she's also a mom of 3 kids, which is pretty awesome. So thank you for coming on, Jessica.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you started doing this work and how you got attracted to this, because I know your background's a little bit different. So
Yes, yeah. So, it started with my own personal development work. I think we all have some level of stuff we need to work through, and I had my own stuff. And I was doing that all kind of while I was working a corporate job. And in my corporate days, I was a technical writer for an engineering company. It was terribly not exciting, but it was a good job and it was a great company. They were really flexible. And when my kids came along, they let me work from home except for 1 day a week when I was in the office. And that worked great until my oldest was old enough to notice that I was always staring at a laptop. And she started coming to me and she'd say, "Mommy, you done working on tap-top?" She couldn't say laptop. So that kind of like crushed my heart a little bit, right? Because I had to still work regular business hours despite them letting me work from home. Mm-hmm. And so after my second daughter was born, I kept trying to work and it just wasn't working anymore. I couldn't, in good conscience, try to keep a job and be present for my kids the way I wanted to. So I pretty abruptly quit and just hustled copywriting for a while because, hey, I knew how to do that and it was a way to make money. But what I realized is that while I was talking to people about what kinds of words they wanted on their websites and things, I was actually really enjoying the talking part of it much more than the actual writing of their copy. And so I was helping people with things like, why are you undercharging? And why do you think you're not ready to say that you are the thing that you really want to be doing? And so I was digging into all this with people, and I'd spend 3 times as long on the phone as I would writing copy. And so I just said to my husband one day, I think I'm just going to drop the writing part. And it kind of happened that organically. I just started promoting the talking side of things, and the subject matter has kind of evolved a little bit over time, but it's been very organic the way the whole thing happened.
Yeah, I think that's so important because so many times people think they have a certain problem, right? Like, I can't write my copy.
Right.
And the actual problem is usually a lot deeper, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so I think that was when I first realized that all the learning that I had been doing for myself was something that I could help other people with. And it was just a good opportunity to kind of have the impact that I wanted to in a way that still felt good for me without doing the parts of it that I didn't really enjoy.
Yeah. So how has that kind of changed your schedule and your relationship at home, like your daily, what that looks like?
It's a little crazy. If you go into my calendar, like my scheduler, you'll see that I have call slots available from 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning and then after 5:30 at night. And it's funny because that works out really great for a lot of other moms. The people on the West Coast are not so excited when they see that my morning slots are 4:30 to 6:30 in the morning for them. But this split time works okay for us right now. That's when my husband is home. He thankfully has a flexible schedule and can kind of come and go based on when I do have calls, which helps. But yeah, I'm pretty unapologetic about it. If you can't make it work during the middle of the day, then you just don't. And I wasn't willing to keep doing things while my kids stared at me wondering what was going on. And it's not like I can really be present for a phone call if my kids are around. So we just make it work and wiggle it around.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, I don't know if you saw that conversation that came up this week on the Mom Entrepreneur group, the Entrepreneurial Moms group. Somebody had mentioned, I feel like when I have my kids around that it's unprofessional or something around there.
Yeah.
And I think that you brought up a good point, though, because you have very little kids.
Right.
Don't you have I think your littlest one is less than a few months.
Yeah, she just turned 4 months.
Yeah. And that's pretty much how I feel because both of mine are under 2. So it's not that I feel unprofessional, but I cannot concentrate on the task at hand if I have my kids around during calls.
Right. Exactly. I've done connection calls with people or very loose conversations while my kids are around. I've had the emergency call with my coach while my kids are around. But to be able to really show up as my best self for my clients and my kids is important to me. And so I don't choose to split my time and my attention like that unless I really have to.
Yeah, me too. That's my personal preference as well. And I think you do a really good job, I will say, because we have gone back and forth a few times. We've referred clients to each other. And I noticed that you have really good boundaries with the whole Facebook and the Facebook Messenger. And I really love that about you. Can you talk to people about how you do that and what you do there? And I don't even know if you do this intentionally, but it's something I noticed.
Yeah. I think the first thing is that I had to get really good about being able to tell how I feel, right? I think so many times, especially as moms, because it's not an option to not show up as a mom, right? The NyQuil commercial is totally true. You can't just say hey, I need a sick day today, right? There's no checking out of motherhood. And so I think sometimes because of that, we tend to not be totally aware of how we feel. And so we might be way more overwhelmed or way more stressed or just frazzled and not really showing up as our best selves, right? It's really kind of the best way to say it. And so when you're better able to start noticing how you feel, then it's easier to be able to say, you know what, I've had enough now. I'm going to turn this off, or I'm going to do this thing that helps me kind of save my energy, and just kind of being really aware of how you're feeling, where your energy is going, where your attention is going, and making decisions then based on your priorities. So that's the other thing that you have to be really aware of is what have I consciously decided is important to me? And for me, that's going to be my kids and my husband and then my clients, right? And those people get my attention first. And after that comes all the other things I want to do, like being present in Facebook groups and different social media outlets, or getting back to people who I'm having a more casual conversation with. And those things only happen when all the other cups are full. And if those are starting to get depleted, then I pull back from the things that I know that I can pull back from.
That's so, so good. And it's something that you can start doing right now.
Yeah. And you have to. Like, if you're not, you need to. I won't mince words about that. This is not optional, and it's no way to go through life trying to do all the things and be all the things to all the people.
Yeah. I found, like, when I noticed that you did that with the space, it was probably a couple months ago now. It was just really clear to me that you had that together. And so what I did is I just turned off all notifications from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything, because I'm on all that crap, right? So, yeah. And then I get like a direct message that's auto programmed in from somebody on Twitter, and I'm checking my phone for no reason. And I had no idea the amount of not only time, but like you said, the energy and the mental space. It's like another kid that you're answering to. That's like, mom, right?
Exactly.
So that was like a really, really crucial thing I did. And it wasn't that long ago, like maybe a month or two ago. But as your business grows, you start to have more, right? And that's where these boundaries really come in.
Yeah, for sure. My phone sits on Do Not Disturb almost all day. And my husband just knows if he wants to get a hold of me, he has to call twice, because you can turn that feature on that if somebody calls a couple times within 3 minutes or something, then it'll actually ring. And he just knows, like, oh, I want to get a hold of my wife. I have to call her twice in a row. But I don't want to hear that buzzing. And I want my checking and my presence in social media and in email, and even for my clients, right? I mean, it's timely, but it's on my time. And I want that to be intentional. And when it is, it's also, like you said, it's a lot quicker, right? You're not wasting a bunch of time. And there's so much research about this even, right? This isn't just anecdotal, that task switching is so not productive. And it just makes you feel terrible. I mean, Do Not Disturb is my friend.
Yeah, totally. So tell us a little bit about what success means to you.
For me, I think actually I almost just touched on it, is consciously choosing what I want my life to look like and then making that happen. And being aware that that's always shifting and changing and reevaluating that all the time, and just being really conscious and intentional about what am I doing, where am I going, the things that I'm putting my time and my money and my energy into. Are those things that I actually care about and want to be giving those resources to? And then giving my all to whatever I've decided to make important and make a priority right now.
Yeah, I think that's like so crucial. And I love how you talk about reevaluating, because it is, especially as moms, like sometimes it's so different as our kids grow up than what we imagined it to be.
Yes.
And you have the right to change your mind.
Yes, absolutely. And even just for yourself, like your personal priorities, right? If things are going really well in your partnership right now and you're feeling good about that, then maybe it's time to spend more time at the gym and feel better about your body for a while. And just kind of being really aware of how you feel about all of the different roles and the juggling that you do, right? What thing really needs your attention and what things are important to you to keep healthy, and then actually doing that without feeling any guilt or remorse about prioritizing those things.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. And the whole self-assessment, like that takes practice. So if somebody's like really out of touch
Yep.
with that, what do you say to like, how can somebody start to get in tune with that piece of themselves?
So I have a 20-minute morning jumpstart that I kind of recommend for people, right? Because I can sit here and tell you that I know when I'm stressed out, I hand my husband the baby when he comes home and I'm like, I need to go meditate. And I sit in my master closet because it's the quietest place in the house and I meditate for half an hour. But if you've never done that, that'll sound crazy. And that's fine. That's totally fine. A couple years ago, I had no concept of that. So this 20-minute morning jumpstart, it starts with just a few minutes of sitting and being quiet. And if you're not in that habit, it will feel so weird to you to just sit and not worry about what's going on around you, right? You can do this like in your car when you get home with the groceries, like just sit in your car for 5 minutes and notice how you feel and just notice what thoughts go on in your head. Don't have your thoughts and then beat yourself up for your thoughts. Just become more aware of what your head is saying to yourself, right? It's not that we need to turn it all off. That's not healthy or really practical either. But to kind of get better at quieting your mind and just noticing what is actually going on in there. And that helps already so that you can kind of go from there and figure out, okay, I'm having these thoughts about my kids, or I'm having these thoughts about my body, or this is how I'm feeling about my business. And from there, you can start to take steps to make changes.
Yeah. So the first piece is really to like start to identify what the feelings even are.
Right.
And being okay with like having them. Like there's no right or wrong there.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, because beating yourself up about it is not going to make it any better. I tried that for several years. Don't do that. But being aware of what's going on in your head then gives you a place to start making changes from. From there, like the rest of the 20 minutes is about figuring out, what do I want and why do I want those things? And what can I do today to take one step towards that, right? It's not about biting off progress in these huge chunks, but rather, I think, especially as a mom, being okay with incremental progress that happens a little bit at a time, day in and day out, so that you feel like you're still making progress towards something outside of getting dinner on the table and making sure socks are clean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, you need something outside of just the logistics of motherhood.
Yeah. And for so many of us, that's why we have our business, right? Like,
Right. Yes, exactly.
For me, that was a huge part of it, besides like having to support my family. But when I thought about my daughter being super sick and me having to stay home with her, there was really not a lot of fulfillment from only doing that part.
Right. Yes. I told my husband once on a less than great day, I didn't go to school and get a bunch of letters behind my name so that I could wipe butts all day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that was kind of one of those moments when I was like, I need to be doing something that I really care about. And I think that's true for all of us. What that is for you is kind of immaterial, but making a choice about, this is important to me, this is what I want to pursue. Even if I'm pursuing it in a really slow way, that's okay. But just to know and to acknowledge for myself that I am a person outside of being a mother.
Yeah. And this all goes back to like knowing that being a mom is just a role that we play. And we've talked about this before on the podcast because I think it's so important. And I think a lot of moms lose their identity, especially when the kids are super, super young.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love this. And I think it's really important for us to like start to acknowledge and to have conversations about it and being okay with having other desires and make an impact in other ways, right? Like
Right.
We can make an impact on the world. We don't have to only make an impact on our children.
Right. And that's not to say that it's bad either if you decide that like my kids are what I'm going to focus on right now, like totally okay too. Like, I'm big on no mom shaming, right? There's no right way to do this. But I think for a lot of people that isn't a conscious choice. And so if you are going into whatever you're doing as a mom, especially like you said, of very little kids, and you're doing it consciously, then fine, like go for it. And be aware, like we said earlier, that you are constantly reevaluating, especially at this age. Like every 6 months is different. And if you're able to kind of constantly reevaluate, here's what's important to me now, here's how this can look right now, here's what I need to give up in exchange for that, and I'm okay with giving that up for now, then it just makes you more successful as a mom and a business owner, because you've kind of drawn some lines in the sand for yourself about what is okay and what is not okay, and what your non-negotiables are, and what is important for you to be spending your time and energy on right now.
Yes. And I love that. And I think going back to your mommy shaming, mommy guilt thing, like don't feel guilty about whatever you choose as your non-negotiable.
Right.
Only you can choose that. That's
right.
Your choice.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. So is there anything like as you've been building this business and even in your copywriting business that you wish you knew a little bit sooner that you think would be really helpful to the mom entrepreneurs out there?
You know, I think the biggest thing is it sounds like I kind of just one day decided that I was going to quit my job. And the truth of the matter is I had wanted to be an entrepreneur for probably 5 years. And I had dabbled, we'll call it, in all kinds of other things, right? I'd had blogs and Etsy shops, and I had gone back to grad school for a while. I mean, like you name it, I tried it. And I think the reason that happened for me is because I was trying to perfect it in my head. And I was looking for the ideal solution. And by ideal, preferably ideal for like the next 10 years, right? Like it should be something that's perfect right now and in the future, even though I have no idea what the future is going to look like. And if you would have told me that, I would have said, no, of course not. That's not what I'm doing. That sounds ridiculous. But my lack of commitment to any one thing was really because I was trying to figure out, well, how can I make some money the fastest? What will let me have a flexible schedule around the kids? What do I care about? What am I good at? And I had just way too many criteria that I was trying to find the perfect fit for. And as soon as I backed myself into a corner and just quit my job, I had to figure it out. And I'm not saying that that's the right way for everybody to do it. But the key is this: you cannot perfect anything in your head. And the only way to figure out what really works for you is to take some action and check in again. And then take some action and check again. And sometimes that'll mean like major shifts. And then occasionally you'll land on something that feels pretty good. And when you do a check-in again, you'll realize it just needs a little tweak. But this idea of ruminating in your head over ideal scenarios, you can even do this with our kids or our marriages or how we're trying to run our lives, right? You're not going to figure out what is perfect for you in your head. You just won't. Until you're actually in the trenches and actually doing it and seeing how you respond and how your family responds. And there's this unknown thing that I didn't see coming, and here's another thing that I didn't realize. Once you're actually doing it, you can make progress a lot quicker and ironically get to what is ideal for you a lot faster because you have actionable intel to deal with right away.
Yeah. That is huge. And
Yes.
So just to recap a little bit, because I think you just hit so many things that I'm like, which one am I going to talk about? So you feel like if you would have taken some action instead of staying in your mind about it,
Right.
what would that have given you?
Here's the thing. I thought I was taking action, right? I was like, oh, I'm going to like open this Etsy store, and oh, I think I'm going to start this blog. But I was never really like in it. It was like I was trying to walk down two forks of the road at the same time. And you can't do that, right? It is not possible to test something, right? And as long as you're in this, I'm just going to try it mindset, you're never going to know if it could really take off. And so if you are halfway doing something, you're not really giving yourself or the thing a fair shot, right? I mean, that's not accurate information to work with either, because if you were giving yourself to it, if you were committed to an idea, then you would actually know what you can do with it. And so I think it's almost that like I fooled myself into thinking, oh yeah, like I'm trying this thing out, and no, that didn't really work the way I wanted. And so when I quit my job, that wasn't an option anymore. And so yeah. Like I said, it's not something that I would recommend for everyone. It definitely worked for me, and I've heard that it does work for others too, but that's also the scary way to go. Sometimes that's a good idea though. So cautionary tale there.
Yeah, it was scary for me, but I had really no choice.
Right. Yeah, same for you. Yeah.
I had no choice. I had no other choice because my daughter was on a breathing machine and I'm a nurse, and like, who would be a better nurse for me to hire at the rate of a nurse than myself, right? Like, that's just so stupid. Yeah. So I had to do it. I think it definitely was not easy. But would I be where I am today if I hadn't? Hell no.
Right. And I hear that over and over is for a lot of people, it's just when they have their first child or they move to a new city and have no contacts, right? When our backs are against the wall, that's when we figure out what we're really made of. And so if you can find a way to kind of put yourself into that kind of urgent situation without all hell breaking loose in your life, then that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So switching gears a little bit, and I think I know what your answer is going to be for that, but is there a couple of things you do every single day to stay on top of your game?
Yeah, you definitely know, right? So it's the mindset work. This is not optional for me. For me, that does involve meditating every day. I've noticed that I'm way more patient with my kids when I've done that. I'm able to really kind of enjoy them in the moment more. If it's not something that you've done yet, just go onto YouTube and look for guided meditations. And you can listen to some lovely person talk to you about these things and just take a few minutes to close your eyes and listen to somebody else talk. You don't have to go sit cross-legged and touch your thumb to your middle finger and stuff. Don't make it so complicated. Just put your butt in a chair and close your eyes for a few minutes. But that's not optional for me. And I do a lot of journaling too. It's a huge part of my awareness practice is seeing my thoughts actually in black and white on paper. And that's how I become aware of like, oh, that's interesting. I would never admit that belief out loud, but here I just wrote it while I was writing for 15 minutes straight. And so just going back and kind of reading what I write every day makes me more aware of where I may be tripping myself up. And then also helps me kind of set some intentions for the day, right? How am I going to show up today? What's important to me? When I go to bed tonight, how do I want to feel? What can I do today that's going to make me feel proud at the end of the day? And deciding that for myself in the morning so that my day, even if it like all just falls to pieces and none of those things happen, but I went into it with that intention and I know and trust myself then throughout the day to make decisions that are more in line with what I ultimately want so that things aren't just kind of haphazard throughout the day.
That's a huge, huge one.
Yeah. They just kind of fall away otherwise.
Yeah. And it just happens like so quickly. I mean, have you ever like fallen off of the mindset stuff? And if you have, how do you get back? Because for me, I've fallen off a few times. I mean, I meditated for probably about 8 or 9 years. Mm-hmm. And I fell off after my son was born, and I didn't realize the impact that that was having until a long time in. I mean, like months. So how does somebody, if they're in that place where they've fallen off, like how do they get back on?
Some of it is first knowing why you want to get back on the wagon, right? And you don't want to get back into the habit just so that you stop beating yourself up about breaking the habit.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens, right? We're like, oh, I really should do this. I really should. I can't believe I'm not doing this anymore. I felt so much better when I used to do it, right? And this is like all this negative chatter that we have. Please do not meditate because you will stop beating yourself up about not meditating, right? Don't go into it for that reason. I want you to think about, what are you hoping you will get out of it, right? What are the positive aspects of getting back into some kind of practice, right? If you're not a meditator, maybe you are a prayer, or maybe you are a morning jogger, or you're a yogi, right? Whatever your practice is, have a practice. And if you fall off the wagon, then kind of reconnect with what was good about having that practice and what your goals and your hopes are for having that. And then be gentle with yourself. Even though you were once regular at it, or you once enjoyed something like that, you're relearning to make that a part of your life. And it'll probably happen faster than it did in the past, but you will probably stumble a few times, and that's okay. I mean, get really silly practical about it. Have an accountability buddy, or I've done things like make a paperclip chain, and every day, like I put another paperclip on the chain. And just having that hanging, I usually hang it by a magnet on my fridge, right? And having that hanging there is kind of a visual reminder of like, hey, I'm doing this and this is important to me. And I'm making time for this. And I feel good about myself for tacking on that extra paperclip at the end of the day. We're not reinventing the wheel here, people. We're just trying to meditate. But use those kinds of triggers for yourself so that you're doing the things that you know are good for you without beating yourself up about not doing them.
That's really good. Right now we're doing, my son is having some problems with his bowel movements. And so we have a sticker chart going on, and like every day that he goes in the toilet, he gets a sticker. And it's so simple, but the calendar is right there in our main hallway where we pass it like multiple times a day, and he asks for the sticker all the time. And so, I mean, we're only on day 3 right now, but he knows, like he goes past that calendar. He's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom in the toilet today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But for some reason, we think that the same doesn't apply to us. And it does. It totally does. Like you can get just as attached to a sticker chart as your 4-year-old, but we think it's silly because I'm an adult. I should be beyond sticker charts. And yeah, like maybe ideally you would be, but start where you are. There is no shame in kind of incentivizing yourself in that way. Part of being an adult and doing it successfully is doing what works for you. Mm-hmm. And so there's no right or wrong way to get yourself excited to do the things that you know are good for you.
Yeah. And that just reminded me, because you said about the journaling. I've always felt like I'm journaling incorrectly because I don't really sit there and say like Dear Diary and all.
Gosh, no.
So can you talk about that a little bit? Because you said you journal all the time. So what's that like?
Yeah. So I'll say this. The 20-minute morning jumpstart does kind of walk you through like 4 questions to kind of journal on to get your day started right. So there's that. That's kind of how I would approach it in the morning. But just in general, if you are aware that there's some negative crud going on in your head, just stream of consciousness, right? I mean, just set a timer for 15 minutes, lock yourself in the bathroom and write. And no stopping, even if you have to write, I don't know what I'm supposed to write. This lady, Jessica, told me to keep writing, and so I'm writing. And that's fine, right? Eventually, it'll bubble out. So that's kind of good for discovering what's really going on in your head, especially if you're not good at catching it yourself yet. And this is true for all of us. We're just all at different stages of being able to catch our own thoughts. So that's how I would do that. And then in terms of like, if you want to make sure you kind of have a good start to your day, that's about deciding how you want to show up, right? So what are some intentions for the day? Like I said earlier, what could I do today that would make me feel proud of myself? What is important to me and how do I want to feel at the end of this day? And then at the end of the day, a lot of times I'll just take a few minutes to jot down a few things I did where I was proud of myself, or something I did that was a challenge for me, but I bucked up and tried it and faced it and plowed through. And then I will often reflect on what I could have done better today and how I would like to change that choice in the future if I face this similar situation. So yeah, kind of a few different options there, right? But I guess what I would say is to go into your journaling having a purpose, right? So my purpose is to figure out what the thoughts are mulling around in my head. My purpose for this journaling session is to figure out how I want to approach this day. At the end of the day, my purpose for this journaling session is to kind of reflect on what I did well and how I want to make changes going forward and what I want to keep going forward. So that there's always some kind of purpose for why you're sitting down with a piece of paper, because otherwise you may end up going down this kind of negative rabbit hole. I'll see that sometimes where people just write out everything that angers them and then they put down the pen and they're just even more ticked off than they were when they started. So yeah, bringing some intentionality to why you're showing up with a pen.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really, really helpful, especially for me, because I really feel like I've been journaling wrong. So I think knowing, number one, there's no wrong way to do it, like just allowing your thoughts to flow.
Yes.
That's really helpful. Okay, so can you talk about a struggle or challenge? Some people call them failures, but I think failures are a way for us to learn something really valuable. So can you talk about something that you experienced like that in your business and how you were able to overcome it?
Yeah, I think that kind of gets back to what I was saying earlier, that I was trying to perfect everything in my head. And so for me, that was a lot of looking for answers outside of myself. And like I said earlier, I would not have known that or recognized it at the time, but that's definitely what I was doing. And so it started out very innocently. I was like signing up for everybody's webinars and listening to everybody's podcasts and consuming a lot of information and not doing much with it. I was kind of collecting solutions to problems I didn't even have yet. I realized this one day when I was doing dishes and listening to Pat Flynn on Smart Passive Income, and he was talking about how to optimize sales funnels, and I was like really into it. I'm like taking these mental notes while I'm like doing dishes, and I stopped and it literally said out loud, what am I doing? Because I'm listening to a podcast about how to optimize sales funnels and I don't even have a business, right? And I think that it took me a while to realize that this is still what I was doing. So then I ended up buying courses and hiring people, and I did not really own that the answers were inside of me and that the answers would come as I took action. And so this failure that I had, which is not one distinct moment, it's more like 7 years of my life, was more a consequence of thinking that I needed things before I could get started. And I don't want to bemoan that because I learned a lot from that. And that's a lot of what I help my clients with now, for sure, because it's very common, but there's no need for it. And even though I can now tell you how to optimize a sales funnel, even though that's not really part of my business, I wasted a lot of time and energy trying to figure out the right way to do things when I could have just jumped in.
That is so powerful. Could you repeat that for a second? Because I want everybody to just like sit with that for a moment.
Yeah, I think you have the answers inside of you, and just start way before you're ready. Right? You will never feel ready. And when you start and then go look for solutions to problems as you run into them, that is how you will experience the fastest growth and save your energy and your money and do things in a way that will really be productive and feel good for you.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so I'm going to change gears a little bit. Let's say you started all over. You had no business, no team, no list, no connections, and you only had 3 hours a day and $5,000. What would you kind of do?
That's pretty much exactly how I started my business. So I can tell you exactly what I would do. Get on the phone with as many people as humanly possible, help out people wherever I can. That's how I got my first copywriting job, actually. Somebody said, hey, I just launched my website. Can you guys give me some feedback? It was just a generic post in a Facebook group. So I offered to go help her out. Then I had some suggestions and I said, hey, like, do you want to just jump on the phone real quick? I can just give you some pointers. And I mean, like total, like no strings attached, nothing. Just gave her a bunch of suggestions. And she's like, hey, do you have a website? Like, I know some people who could really use your help. I was like, no, I don't have a website. I quit my job 2 weeks ago, lady. And I was like, I got an email address. And a couple weeks later, like people started emailing me. Hey, so-and-so told me like you really helped her out, blah, blah, blah. Can you tell me what your packages are like? So like I'm on vacation and here I am, I'm writing up copywriting packages, right? Yes, I can. I can get you that in 6 hours, right? And there was no silliness about that, right? That organic, it just happened like that. But use what you already know, use your natural gifts and talents, and get out there, get to know people, and then with the $5,000, hire a coach. That's exactly what I did. It scared the crud out of me to go to my husband like, hey, honey, I just quit my job. Can we hire somebody for my head? Because the first person I hired was a mindset coach. And I didn't want to be my own biggest obstacle anymore. And it was without a doubt the best money I ever spent, because you can only see your own blind spots to a certain degree, right? There's only so much self-awareness that you can acquire for yourself. And at the end of the day, you're going to need somebody to help you with that last little bit. And once you have somebody who is holding you accountable and helping you see your nonsense going on in your head and who is pushing you to do the things that you've decided that you want to do, you will go so much farther, so much faster that you will make that money back in no time. So use the stuff you already know how to do and then hire somebody to make sure you actually keep doing it.
Yes, love that. Okay, so is there anything else that you think would be really helpful to a mom who's just starting out, who wants to go to the next level in their business that we have not covered?
I think the biggest thing is to be gentle with yourself. There are a lot of opinions about what is the right way to do something, what is the wrong way to do something. Your business has to be built like this. Here's a blueprint for how I did that. And I'm not knocking that necessarily, but you need to know yourself first and have no guilt or shame about this is what I want and here's what I'm good at and here's how I think I can do it, and then go and do it and look for people who have already done it in the closest way that you want to, right? So if you don't want to have 30 online courses and launch them all through webinars, then don't hire somebody who built their business that way. Model the people who have built success in the way that you want to, which means that the first thing you need to do is have some kind of clue about how you think you want to do this, and then try it out, and then find somebody who can help you kind of take it to the next level.
Yeah, I'm so glad you just said that, because my first business coach had her entire business. She built it like in person. And at the time, my daughter was with her issues and she was on a breathing machine. And my coach is sitting there telling me, that I have mindset blocks because I can't go to a physical place and do a speech. I'm like, what am I going to do? What are her monitors going to go off? Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, no, there's more going on. And that was not the way I wanted to build my business. So I'm so glad you said that, because I think when we do like our first business coach, we're just like, oh, well, that person has helped me, or that person has been extremely successful, I want to go with them. But
Right.
we don't think about this part, which is like, did they build their business the way that I want to build my business?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. So where can people find you? How can people find out more about you? And where can they get that 20-minute morning workbook thing?
Yep. So I am at jessicaeley.com. So Jessica, Eley. And the 20-minute morning jumpstart is at jessicaeley.com/morning jumpstart, which is probably, either of those are probably the best way to find me and kind of figure out more about what I do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to talk with you more and get this episode out there for everybody. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So that concludes another episode of the Mom Entrepreneur Success Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed all of these great mindset tips from Jessica Eley. I know I will definitely be exploring journaling in a different way moving forward. And I'm really excited to implement some of these strategies into my own practice. If you'd like additional support, be sure to reach out to us in the Entrepreneurial Moms community, and I'll link to it in the show notes. So be sure to stick around for that. Next week, I'm going to be interviewing Gretchen Mall, who is a sales queen. She is really good at doing sales, and she's going to really share some knowledge bombs about how to do sales in a way that feels good to you. It's non-sleazy and it's ethical. And I really strongly advocate for this, because I think that a lot of us get tripped up in how to do sales in a different way that still feels good to us. And so we're going to get some great tips on that next week. So be sure to tune in for that.
You've been listening to the Mom Entrepreneur Success Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Head on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and review. By reviewing the show, it allows us to reach more moms to help them grow their businesses. So head on over there, leave us an honest rating, and I can't wait to catch up with you there. By the way, every single week, I'm going to select one winner who leaves a review, and you'll be able to get a free strategy session with me in this 20-minute laser-focused session. You'll get the information that you need to move your business to the next level of success that you desire. Have an awesome day.